Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
As we age and slow down, I wish there was a way to donate fat like you could donate blood. Think about it. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning, good morning as we start our next full week of February. My goodness sakes. And this is Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers that include Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, locally owned and operated, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. And to a young lady that is not feeling quite up to par. She's feeling up to maybe 2 bogeys under. Good morning, Gina.
Definitely not a mulligan, that's for sure.
Well, you don't want to do it over.
No, I don't. Well, good morning and happy Monday to you.
I'm sorry you're not feeling well.
I don't know what's wrong with. Actually, I probably do know what's wrong with me aside from my mental health. But I just haven't felt well since like Friday.
And this is the worst business to be in when you're sick.
Yeah, I've got the garbage can right next to me.
Yeah, and you can't let the public know, but, oh, brother, you turn the mic off and you hope, did I get it off in time?
Exactly. So my finger's right on the button. It's right on the button, babe.
Do we have a pledger?
We have Al on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
All right, thank you. Al, go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb.
Good morning, buddy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Al, thank you, as always.
Well, I tell you, we got to get off our high horse, I guess, and start paying attention.
We're going to talk about high horses or tall ones here in just a little bit, so stay tuned. Appreciate it, Al.
Okay,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, my friend. Hey, right now it's time for the weather, and the weather's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 4, and they've got all your home decor items, and right now especially, you still got time to decorate for Valentine's Day. It's a big, big deal. You betcha. Everybody can feel warm and cozy inside the rooms. They've got it all. Carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, and like I said, all your home decor items at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. And right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Got thunderstorms in the forecast. How about that for the month of February? Yeah. Hey, morning, everybody. You got rain pretty much throughout the day. Chance of a thunderstorm is going to taper off tonight. You got a nice week as you work your way towards Sunday. But for today, the possibility of a thunderstorm in February, well, I always told you weather can't read. Well, with this moisture coming in off the Pacific, there's a good chance you might see one. So, other than that side of the weather, not really going to be that much of a problem, but you will get a little bit of it. The rest of the week, like I said before, once you get through tonight and going into tomorrow, it's going to look nice. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
No, Michael, thank you. Great job. Brought to everybody by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Absolutely. Don't forget, they've got all kinds of newly refurbished furniture for you. Look for the blue door at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 678-6945. Oh, my goodness. We've got a lot of messages here I've got to take care of, and I would like first and foremost to acknowledge some anniversaries. My son, Jake, and his wife, Shanna, are celebrating their anniversary today, and hopefully they're listening in on the internet, Zeb at the Ranch and zebbell.com. Thank you, and happy anniversary, and happy birthday to a lovely lady over across the river and through the canyon, and just due straight north of my place, Diane Coates. Happy birthday to her, and we've got some more birthdays for the rest of the week to acknowledge. Lunch Bunch, I've got to get this in real quick. Lunch Bunch will be next week on Thursday, the 19th. Write that down. With a short month, I almost goofed. And it's going to be on the 19th, next Thursday, at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget, Denny's, of course, they've got everything over there. Man, I'm telling you, that menu is absolutely out of sight. Delicious. I mean, breakfast, lunch, and or dinner. You can just stop in. You know you're going to get the greatest in service. Really, really nice people. And like I said, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you just got a real, a wide array of delicious items to choose from, and they are good. 2 locations, actually, I want to tell you about 611 Overland in Burley, and also their new location right there in Twin Falls at 291 Pole Line Road. Denny's Restaurant, the home of the original, the biggest, and the best, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Thank you very much. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Allow me, please, to take a little time here and give a personal thanks to many, many, many of you that have taken the time to send me a card. I haven't talked about it very much on the air, nor will I. I had a little health problem come up about 2.5 weeks ago, and it was a scare. And fortunately, everything looks to be like we can climb back up on top of the hill and start swinging again. And hopefully we will. But I just want to say how many people sent cards, and it meant a lot to me. I'm not going to mention all of them by names because I could absolutely miss somebody, and that would make me feel terrible and them also. But thank you very, very much for your cards of well wishes. It was really appreciated. Thank you so much. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. My goodness sakes, you can look around for cleaners that you think might be better, but you won't find them. No, they're the best. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Restoration of items and dry cleaning, as you know, prolongs the life of your garments. So please stop in and see them today. Kevin and Cindy and the rest of the crew taking all your rumply crumplies and making them look brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Also, would like to remind you about our friends at SafeLink Internet. My goodness sakes, you know that they've got the best in Internet services, absolutely. All you have to do is just give them a call at 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. And they've got the first month free, no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data, speeds up to 15 megabytes. Is that right, MB? I got to ask Gina, is the abbreviation for MB meaning megabytes, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I am not, here I'm telling her, I am not a computer aficionado, so I appreciate your help on that.
Not a problem.
And, but boy, do we rely on SafeLink over here for Deanne. SafeLink Internet, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. SafeLink Internet. There you go. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm prejudiced against Obama, and even more so this morning. After what I heard and saw at the National Prayer Breakfast, I have nothing but animosity against this person calling himself the President of the United States. I'm disgusted with him. I think what he said was pathetic. It was disrespectful. All of those words are absolutely meant towards Barack Obama. I think he'll go down in history as the most vile, non-patriot president we have ever had. His speech, which was a speech, a lot of people thought that was off the cuff. No, it was not. It was all on his teleprompter, his wonderful, always supporting him teleprompter. His speech was absolutely inaccurate, and I'll explain why. He went way back 1,000 years to the Crusades. And I'm giving a summation of what he said, but basically he said Christians shouldn't get up on a high horse because they have committed atrocities too. If you look back, and the reason that those atrocities were committed to rid them of the Muslim problem that had started the war and all the death and absolute disaster in the first place. But he didn't say that. He didn't say that. He really failed to mention the truth. And I don't care who's offended by this. This is a fact. Barack Obama is consistent with his aiding and abetting radical Islam. That's a fact. That is absolutely a fact. This administration has been a friend to Islam and has basically, in many, many stories, you know this is true, had an animus against Christianity. And I'm going to keep telling it like it is. There are those that are afraid to. I will not back off. This administration is doing all they can to aid the Muslim Brotherhood, aid radical Islam, not call this war what it is. And even this morning, I was listening to the news, and Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, I mean, we're talking a man that knows the military. We're talking about a man that knows the crisis situations that we are in. Lieutenant General Michael Flynn has had it up to his nose with the Obama administration, and especially Susan Rice. I could not believe he absolutely had nothing good to say about Susan Rice. And when you think about this, how absolutely scary it is to have her, Susan Rice, in control of our military strategy and our national security, and the mapping out of what's going to be done overseas to, quote-unquote, protect us and our allies. She hasn't got a clue. Now, that's not being sexist. She's not qualified for the job. Male or female, she is absolutely zero qualified for this job. No experience. Never had served in the military. And she's sitting down and telling the military what to do and how to map out military strategy? Please. This woman has no skill to be anything with this White House administration. And quite frankly, the only thing she should do in getting into the White House is pay for a tour. She's not qualified. She has absolutely no experience and absolutely should not be listened to by this president and using her policies. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. My goodness. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And I've been telling you, and you know what, I just have got a feeling, and Deanna and I were talking about it yesterday. I'm kind of getting sidetracked here a little bit, but we were sitting outside after Deanna was doing yard work yesterday, and I was cleaning out my horse trailer and everything, and sweating. I mean, sweating. It was in the mid-60s and a beautiful day. And we sat down there on the bench for a minute and said to ourselves, oh, is this going to change? And when it does, bang. Well, see, that's it. Well, we know we're going to get some cold weather. We know that your furnace is sitting down there in the basement going, they haven't had to use me too much lately, but the day is coming. So be ready with quality air filters at Ramsey Heating and Electric. I bet a lot of people never thought I'd get back from that story and get back to my commercial. I did. Anyway, quality air filters at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 6780459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Yes, sir. And don't forget to, love is in the air. Love is in the air. And it's Lovebird Sale at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, we had Mandy on last week, and they've got some specials that you can get in and register for, like a romantic nice stay in the honeymoon suite at the Best Western, plus desserts from Perkins, and a $50 gift card to the Upper Crust Grill. Oh, my goodness sakes! You better get in and register, and they got specials like all clothing, jewelry, belts, and Western boots, 25% off at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert for their Lovebird Sale. You stop in and see them today, okay? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Holy cow, did you hear, I got to see if Gina heard about this story. Gina, are you right there by the microphone? Now you're not feeling real good, but this guy over in Australia got his surfboard out of his car and goes out on the beach, gets it all waxed up and everything, and it starts into the water, okay? And he's 30 feet offshore, just sitting on his surfboard, and he gets eaten alive by a white shark.
Isn't that rather common right off the coast of Australia?
Well, it is, but think of the distance. 30 feet.
30 feet.
And the water was not that deep at that point. I've heard two different reports. One report said it was only 5 feet deep, and the other one said it was 7 feet deep. But irregardless of the depth, 30 feet offshore, and you're gobbled up by a great white shark. That, to me, along with all these other stories, I wouldn't consider surfing anywhere. They say that off the coast of Australia, there are more sharks and more very scary numbers than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I am very cautious in water, and quite frankly, Jaws ruined it for me. You could be in an inland body of water, say Elk Creek Reservoir, and I think that a big trout is going to come and eat me. So I just don't do that unless I'm in like a safe vessel. I am not going to be out in open water by my lonesome.
I hate to admit this, but it is true that after the movie Jaws came out, there was a time, I'm going to absolutely blow my character. There was a time I would not get in the bathtub without having Deanne stand by with the 20-gauge shotgun.
Jaws was a frightful movie, and so it ruined being out in open water for, I think, basically an entire generation. So for this poor gentleman that lost his life, I feel for his family. But you know what happens when you get out there in open waters, especially off the coast of Australia, when it is infested with sharks. Everybody knows this.
Can you imagine, though, 30 feet? 30 feet, think about that. That's only half the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate. That's all the further he was out in the water, and all of a sudden, onlookers said they saw these huge jaws open up, and that was it.
And he was gone.
Gone.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
I'm never surfing, ever.
I doubt seriously if I'm even good. If there's a puddle in my backyard, I'm going up to it with a 20-gauge, man. I'm watching out. Woo! Can't trust it. No way.
Even the minnows might get...
Look out, fish! You're dead. Wow. All right, thanks. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness sakes. All your equipment equipment to get the job done right. There you go. I mean, retail equipment sales and rentals and parts and service. Boy, they got a great, great shop department over there. Really can fix things up for you. And they were at Agra Action this last weekend. Old Eli, the Packer backer, and Nick and the whole crew, all there, serving you at 3 locations: Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You better believe they've got all the equipment you need. That's right. Doosan loaders, my goodness sakes, Bobcats, they got it all for you at Berry Equipment and Rental. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. How do you treat your best friend, and it sounds like almost our only friend in the Middle East, with such disrespect? I mean, if you've got a good best friend and arrangements are made for you to get together and you do some really bad things like telling your friends and neighbors, well, we're not going to meet with them while they're here, we're going to be out of town, and your best friend, your ally, is going to think, we're maybe not their best friend and their ally. And I'm talking about Israel and Netanyahu. I could not believe the low-class stunt that Nancy Pelosi wants to pull with her smirk and her very low-class statement of, oh, well, when Benjamin Netanyahu gets here, gee, we've possibly made other plans and the Democrats might be out of town. How low can you actually get at a time when we're absolutely begging, I think, for friends to come with us and be a part of various things with us? I just don't understand this. Please, somebody call me and explain how the Barack Obama administration and the Democrats in general can stoop to these low-class levels, and they are. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I want to see Netanyahu come here. He's in the middle of all that turmoil down there in the Middle East, and he's got something to tell the American people that the Obama administration does not want you and I to hear. I want this guy here, and when he comes down here, I want to see him and listen to what he's got to say.
I think it's a valid point, and I think that open discussion with our number one ally in the region is extremely important, because we know that Iran is doing everything they can in a hurry-up program to build the death tools of nuclear bombs to send over to Israel and annihilate them. And we've got others in the region that absolutely would like to do great harm to Israel, but he's coming over here, and then you have the likes of absolutely ridiculous Nancy Pelosi saying, well, the Democrats might be out of town. How low-classed is that?
Well, the Democrats and the Obama administration has a lot that they're hiding from the American people, and it's got to stop.
I agree, Tony. Boy, it's good to hear from you, my friend. Thank you very much. And by the way, I appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Zach.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Calls are welcome. Really low-classed. I mean, politics in general has reached way down to the scummy part of the barrel. And I place Nancy Pelosi right there. Hey, don't forget our friends at Scouts CarQuest Auto and Truck Parts in Rupert, Hayburn, and Burley since 1949. Every detail matters. And I've been telling you, Jeff was on the air, and we're going to have him back again. You better sign up for that fleet filter survey. A great way to save time. When something breaks down, just call them and tell them the truck number and all the VIN number and everything, and they've got all the records, and they can come right out and take care of everything. Scouts CarQuest is teamed up with Baldwin Filters, the best heavy-duty filters out there. Don't forget locations at 323 East 8th Street, Highway 25 in Rupert, 518 Overland in Burley, and exit 211 I-84 to their big truck center. Scows, CarQuest, Auto and Truck Parts. Every detail matters. Holy smokes, I've got to get right into our Ag Minute. And listen, be listening. Right after the Ag Minute this morning, we're going to give away a half dozen delicious, absolutely make you just have your eyeballs roll out. They're so good. Sophie's Chatterbox Cinnamon Rolls. And I'm going to ask that question in a little bit, so stay tuned. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Scrap bins, junk car removal, employee-owned company that really, really cares. They've got I want to start over on that. Drive-through recycling, pickup service, and roll-off containers. They always offer superior customer service. At Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, you stop in and see those good folks today or give them a call, 678-2321. Here now is the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Environmental groups claim the federal government has violated the Clean Air Act by ignoring their pleas for greater restrictions on emissions from confined animal feeding operations. The Humane Society of the United States and other groups have filed lawsuits alleging the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency didn't respond to petitions filed in 2009 and 2011 that demanded CAFOs be regulated as stationary sources of pollution similar to factories. The plaintiffs claim EPA's lack of action violates a law governing administrative procedures and have asked a federal judge to force the agency to make a decision on Clean Air Act regulation of livestock facilities. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Oh, thank you. Brought to us by some really good folks. You better believe it. They've got new steel for sale, too. Angle iron, flat, tubing, channel, you betcha. At Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-2321. We're going to give away right now a half dozen cinnamon rolls from the delicious Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 E Street on the Square in Rupert. And here's what we do. And we started this last week. All you have to do is answer the question correctly. Then call Sophie's at 436-0354. Tell her that you are the winner and when you will be in to pick up the cinnamon rolls so they are all fresh and ready to go for you. And don't forget, we'll make sure that you got to go in there with your ID, identify who you are, and then you'll get your cinnamon rolls. Here is the question for today, and it's an easy one. An easy one. On the old TV show Rin Tin Tin, what was the little boy's character name? Character name in the old TV series Rin Tin Tin. 436-2244-1866-927-4587. Give me a call. Come on, hurry. Give me a call. And the first person with the right answer is going to win a half dozen of those delicious, fantabulous, absolutely excellent cinnamon rolls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
His name was Rusty.
What's the full character name?
Oh, man.
Come on, think.
I don't know on that part.
Now, hang on.
It was Rusty.
No. You know there was another title preceding that. I'm giving you a hint. I'm giving you a chance. Can't come up with it?
No.
All right, sir. Nice try. Thank you very much. We'll take another call. First person to call with the title of the character name for that little boy in the TV show Rin Tin Tin. Come on, give us a call quickly. 436-224-1866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call real fast. This is an easy one. You couldn't possibly miss this. Come on, hurry, give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call, don't forget, too, Chili Championships this next Saturday, Valentine's Day, over at Magic Valley Tires with Mad Max and the whole crew. They're going to judge the chili at 10:30, and if you want to have your chili judged, boy, they're going to give away some top-notch prizes, too. And call Amber at 438-8444, okay? Right now, come on, give me a call. What was the character's name? That guy was really close. I mean, real close. But he didn't have the full title of the name. On the show, Ren 1010, what was the little boy's character name? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't make it harder than what it is. It was real easy. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I can't believe this. I thought this would be a gimme, Gina.
I don't even know it without Googling it. And I haven't.
This is going to be a winner. I've got a feeling this is going to be a winner. All right, here we go.
Okay, Doug, it's you.
Okay, go ahead. You're on the air.
Is it Tim?
No! No, my goodness sakes, especially from an old fogey like you, I figured you'd have it.
I thought I did.
I thought that the last gentleman, he was right there. He was right there. But he didn't have the full name that they referred to him as on the TV show. And then you come back with a name completely different, like you had your head in a bucket someplace.
I did.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thanks. Oh, no, come on, it's easy. Oh, my goodness. Remember the TV show Ren 1010. And the little boy was kind of the mascot for the cavalry. I'm giving a hint. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Trooper Rusty.
Oh, no! Now, you have just opened the door, but just a crack. You're close. You're close. Another caller. I'll take the next one. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
This is Captain Rusty.
No. Holy buckets. Everybody is so close to it. I mean, you could reach out and just absolutely grab one of those cinnamon rolls, but not yet. Not yet. Thank you for your call. Oh, my goodness. They're right there. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How about Private Rusty?
No! I can't believe this. Please, somebody stop the misery and give me a call with the right answer. You're all around it. You've been bouncing around it. This has got to be the right one. Good morning. You're on the air.
How about Corporal Rusty?
Oh, bless you, my son. Who's calling?
This is Zach.
I'm sorry, Zach?
Yeah, Zach.
All right, Zach, give me your last name so I can write it down. I forgot.
Pap. P-A-P-P.
All right, now you get over there and call them, and you have won a half dozen delicious, fresh, absolutely dynamite cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. Let them know that you're the winner, and thank you for breaking the ice and not falling through. Corporal Rusty, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. Appreciate it.
I thought that was a shoo-in when I asked that question this morning. Corporal Rusty on Ren 1010. The problem is, that was so long ago, but I absolutely remember almost every episode. Oh, it was great. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And, man, I worked up a sweat over that. Give me a call, please, and we'll talk about any subject you want to talk about. Let's see. Let's back up here a little bit. Did you hear that now Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security, has put in a hotline number? And you know who the hotline number is for? Illegal aliens. Yep. They can call and they can voice their complaints about how they're being treated in this country, how they're being treated by the Border Patrol, how they're being treated in general, and they can tell the government what they want done. Oh, wait a minute. This is my and your tax dollars. And they're putting in a hotline number for the illegal aliens to call and complain? Why don't we put in a hotline number for citizens and taxpayers to call and complain and hopefully get the same reaction that the illegals will. They'll probably jump all over that and say, oh, well, we'll be right there to assist you. Well, I wish somebody would come out and assist the taxpayers. They're going to put in a hotline number for them to call if they feel they haven't been treated correctly. I mean, you've got to just absolutely marvel at how this country has gone completely to the left in such a short period of time. And no common sense whatsoever. None. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll give them a hotline number. Minnecash Sales. Don't forget, we're very, very proud of everything they do, and they sponsor, of course, Dr. History on Tuesdays. They're located at 1321 East Main in Burley, right across from the Burley Airport, as a matter of fact. And they've got everything over there, doors and windows and garage doors and vinyl and metal siding and metal roofing and all the tiles. And, oh, by the way, too, they've got the best of Tartar Ranch and farm equipment, all the panels and the cattle handling equipment, everything, right there at Minnecash Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. You be sure and give them a call today. Every day on this program, and we will not change, we start things off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's how it's going to be. Just recently, a New Jersey teenage girl fought back against the atheists in New Jersey. Her name is Samantha Jones, and she is a senior at Highland Regional High School in New Jersey. And she has declared victory with the judge saying, yes, he agreed with her that, yes, we can keep saying the Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. And she beat back in an atheist attack that wanted to strike that language from the pledge. I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Talk to me. Gina, is there somebody there? I'm just not hearing anything.
Yeah, that's the guy that always calls in on the satellite, and he's always on like a 60-second delay.
Well, we can't have that. We can't have that. So thank you very much. I appreciate the call. But if they can't hear me and they can't respond, we can't carry a conversation on. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, what happened was that, I want to get this, the legal battle first started when, and get this, an unnamed New Jersey family. Why do the left, why are they cowards? Why can't they stand up and at least say who they are and what they represent? No. Unnamed New Jersey family from Monmouth County, identified in court papers as John and Jane Doe and their child, oh my goodness, sued the regional high school in Matawan, Aberdeen district, alleging that the phrase under God in the pledge was discriminatory. Now listen to this. And they said that their rights were taken away, and that their children felt discriminated against when they had to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Oh, yeah. Do you have that phone number to the Homeland Security so I can call and complain about the illegal aliens taking our jobs away from us?
I do not have the number right here with me, but you can obtain that number probably just by calling area code 202 and asking for that number, I'm sure. And I appreciate it if you would do that. I'd like you to call Homeland Security and say, why are your tax dollars going for a hotline number to aid and abet illegal aliens? I'd like to hear what the response would be.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I think everybody should call back. Everybody should call our congressmen and our senators and say, wait a minute. You're taking my tax dollars and you're using it to fund a telephone system, hotline number, so that the illegal aliens, illegal being they crossed the border illegally, they have no right to be here, aliens meaning they're not citizens of this country, You're giving them a hotline number to call and complain about how they're being treated. Would you please explain to me how and why you're doing such a buffooning thing? Anyhow, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to do the weather forecast real quick, and then we'll get back to that story about that young girl fighting and winning regarding the Pledge of Allegiance and keeping the phrase under God in the pledge. Weather's brought to you by Red's Trading Post. And, of course, they've got all the great selections of Browning, Beretta, Weatherby, Ruger, Benelli, Smith & Wesson, Winchester, all of them, all the accessories, all the ammunition, and, above all, a staff at Red's Trading Post that really knows their stuff. Absolutely. You stop in today, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls, Red's Trading Post, serving you. Here now, Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb the Rich. Just when you thought you'd seen it all. You got thunderstorms in your forecast. This is amazing. You got thunderstorms in the month of February. Yeah, you got rain and thunderstorms possible today. It'll taper off tonight. The good news about the weather for this week, all this yucky stuff is going to taper off tonight, and you're going to have a pretty nice week working your way toward the weekend with temperatures in the upper 50s. Possibly 60, and the overnight lows will be right around the upper 30s. So, as I always say, and believe me, you got it pretty good right now. All you're getting is a thunderstorm, okay? 46 below in Fairbanks, Alaska. Upstate New York, the whole state of New York is getting heavy snow for today, and all you get is rain and a possible thunderstorm in February. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. Don't know whether you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post. Don't forget they've got those concealed weapons classes from LMS Defense and Legal Heat. Absolutely the best. Ryan and the rest of the crew at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Their attorney for the atheists, David Neos, was arguing that the public schools should not engage in an exercise that tells students that patriotism is tied to a belief in God. He said, such a daily exercise portrays atheist and humanist children as second-class citizens and certainly contributes to anti-atheist prejudices. What? Of course I have anti-atheist prejudices. Of course I do on this program. I pity those people. But for their wanting to silence our pledge, what right do they have? What right do they have to try to silence our voices? If they don't want to be contributory and say the pledge, they don't have to. But then again, no, they're not going to take away our free speech and our beliefs. There you go. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I want to talk to you in just a minute about, what was I going to talk to you about? What's going on with Senator Robert Cotton. There's a guy that we should support. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Oh my goodness, these folks are great. Friendly staff, knowledgeable staff, great physical therapists, and they know all the sports medicine, all the exercises, and they've got that hydrotherapy pool, the only pool in the area like it. Fantastic. They will help you get back to being and feeling like yourself. You'd better believe it. 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation in Burley, waiting to serve you. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Al.
I've listened to all these atheists and all that stuff for an eye on to 70-some years. And I'm telling you what, I'm getting sick and tired of it. They complain, bitch and moan. Everything's going against them. Well, I got news for you. you sit there and holler at us people with the guns and stuff like that, and us churchgoers, we're doing wrong. Well, who's the first one to complain and moan when it comes time for somebody attacking them? Who do they call on? Yeah. That's what I mean. If you can't take the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen.
Well, the point is, and this girl made a very, very valid point in her court case, is that she said, wait a minute, why in the world should I have my free speech declined when I say the pledge and say it under God, and why should they, the atheists, shut us up and stymie and stop all of our beliefs? And fortunately, the judge saw it her way and ruled in favor of her, and I anticipate the day when somebody's going to call again. They did about 2 years ago, and they griped about starting my program with the Pledge of Allegiance and the Under God. But basically, I'm not going to stop over some of their whims and fancies about what they want.
No, I'm not either, because they don't come to my place and start saying, oh, gimme, because I'll show them where the road is, and they better hit it in less than 10 seconds or they're going to get their butts kicked.
But, you know, this is not new. This is not new, and it's not going to go away. There are going to be more concentrated efforts to stymie our speech, stymie what we believe in, and curtail a lot of the activities with our religion and our education. And it's not new, Al. It's going to get worse.
Well, I was raised pledge allegiance to the flag and all that stuff. I believe in God all the way from the time I was born, and I'm not going to sit back and have somebody dictate to me how we're supposed to do when they're doing the worst thing they're doing.
Absolutely.
So they can just take it and shove it.
Thank you. Your blunt terminology. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, my friend. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
All right. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Senator Robert Cotton was spot on the other day. This guy sat there at that hearing about Guantanamo Bay. And what else can you say except spot on, right on, lead on, charge on? I mean, this guy said it like we all would say it. And, you know, this idiocy of closing Guantanamo Bay and bringing these vermin into prisons here in the United States, my goodness, to help infiltrate and create more of a problem in our prison system. Oh, my goodness, you talk about the growth of a cancer. It's terrible. Well, he sat there and at the hearing the other day, and then when he was done, he reached up and just didn't turn off his microphone. He about broke the switch. He was mad when he argued about these prisoners being turned loose and Guantanamo Bay being a cesspool of human vermin as far as the people that want to kill us. He said, quote, they should rot in hell. And you know, he's right. Absolutely the perfect place for those people. We have kowtowed to these people. We have given them everything. They get the best of food. They get the best of care. There was like $750,000 given for an upgrade for a soccer field for them to get out and play on. And this president bent on closing Guantanamo Bay. I don't know why. I never have understood it. And try to infiltrate these people into the prison system here in the United States? Lord help us. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zim.
Yeah, oh, you're back. Now did you finally get Corporal Rusty?
I did.
Oh my goodness.
But I'm not that old, I don't remember it.
Oh, Dougie. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I can't remember back up.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's the deal with Guantanamo. I mean, and then that one defense attorney comes on and says, well, what about our prisoners they keep over there? Well, I'll guarantee you they don't build soccer fields for our prisoners or football fields or baseball diamonds for them to recreate.
Absolutely not.
And feed them American food like we're feeding them their kosher food or whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm sure they're feeding our American prisoners over there.
Do you think I'm wrong, though? I absolutely do not want these I call them vermin. They're the scum and dredges of humanity as far as I'm concerned. And why would we want to bring them a little bit here, a little bit there, maybe Kansas, maybe California, maybe Washington State, etc., and let them go to various prisons so that they can absolutely use their hate-filled diatribes to help incorporate more people into their ridiculous thinking?
Exactly. They bring them here and put them in the prisons, and then they will just convert a lot of the people in the prisons
Absolutely.
that are bad people to begin with, and convert them to their ideology, and then when they come out, we'll just have more and more recruits.
I just don't understand how and why an administration can be this totally inept, be this misinformed, be this amateur, and have survived one term, and the American public was, honestly, this word applies, dumb enough to put them back in office for a second term.
Exactly. I got an opinion on that second term, but we'll have that for another day. But no, this guy, he's not inept. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. He was raised by communists. He was raised by Ayers and all those guys. That's who mentored him, that Reverend Wright.
Yeah.
Listen to him. They've done a speech on him talking about the Christians being on the high horse, and he'd done that several years ago in the church. So this is where Obama gets his thinking, and Obama doesn't have a conscience. He does not care what happens to America.
And I have no respect for the man. Doug, I got to do a commercial. Thank you.
Have a great morning.
God bless you, man. And remember, Corporal Rusty. There you go. Hey, Founders Celebration going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely. This is a great time as they honor the founder of Les Schwab Tires, Mr. Les Schwab. What a great individual. And they've got super, super great buys on all-season tread tires, economically priced, some starting as low as just $39.99. Oh, my goodness. And $50 off custom wheels when you buy a new set of 4. Oh, you'd better stop in. And absolutely the best in brake service. All 7 locations. They've got the people that really know brakes. Please stop in and see them today during the Founders Celebration. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pauline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, the best. We are going to take a little break for a few minutes, and we're going to come back. And, of course, my good friend from Colorado, Frosty Wooldridge, will be on, and we're going to talk to him about a lot of things that are going on with illegal aliens in this country and how the government is kowtowing to them. So stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. Oh, good morning. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch. You better believe it, Zeb is ready to go. If you're ready to go, let's ride the horse for another hour or 2. And brought to you by our major sponsor, Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best serving you. And, of course, our advertisers, including Western Way Services. Let's hear about them.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
They are always at your disposal. All you have to do is call them and get on the route service and get rid of your garbage weekly. Man, we're just really tickled with the service out here. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. And don't forget, along with the service to get rid of your garbage, they've got all the dumpsters, they got the portable restrooms, they've got the portable hand wash stations, all the dumpsters. They've got it all for you at Western Waste Services. As they say, always at your disposal. Locally owned and operated Western Waste Services. You call them today. Serving all of Magic Valley. Right now, also, I want to remind you about some really dear friends of ours that have been so helpful to some of our projects that we've had here on the program and around the area. Just really nice people serving you. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family and staff, always serving you. And traveling to the rural towns and churches, and very flexible hours to be there when you need them. Absolutely. And always serving you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, and remember, 436-5636, serving you. It's Monday, and I want to get right into this because we've got an awful lot of ground to cover this morning, and my dear friend back in Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woldridge. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb.
Frosty, I'm so glad to have you on the program this morning for some multiple reasons, but every day that goes by, every single day the news has a different twist or a different story about how this government, this Obama administration, is catering to illegal aliens. And I'm not making these things up when I tell you this, that last week I was dumbfounded that now illegal aliens can apply for what they call the right to have transgender hormone therapy given to them and paid for by us.
Zeb, at this point, the insanity of Washington, D.C., and certainly the complete derailment of the presidency of the United States by Barack Obama cannot be explained. It certainly cannot be understood. And we are going to either endure it or tolerate it for 1 year and 11 more months. Beyond that, any rational American citizen, thinking American citizen, there's no way to, there's a movie out about his presidency. It's called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And so you cannot bring rational thought to what's happening with Barack Obama. And all of the individuals up there that are literally driving this country somewhere where nobody really understands at this point. So that you just can't make rational sense out of it.
And the other thing that absolutely hit us right between the eyes is that the Homeland Security, now I don't know if you've heard this or not, but now the Department of Homeland Security has put in a hotline number paid for by you and me and other taxpayers for illegal aliens to call and voice complaints against how they're handled and what the government's doing. Frosty, voice complaints, they're illegal aliens.
That's correct. And again, for anybody of you that don't know how much this is going to cost you, the American taxpayer, the Heritage Foundation said that somewhere between $3 and $5 trillion to resettle all these illegal aliens into this country. They will tap into our Social Security. They'll tap into all their food stamp systems. They'll tap into all of our medical systems, of course, the schooling systems. They will tap into free dentistry. They'll tap into the breakfasts and lunches. They're going to tap into literally every aspect of, free tax credits, you name it. They are learning how to game the system. There are plenty who are helping them. And we are going to pay, and then we're going to pay some more, and we're going to continue to pay. And we're going to pay in ways that we don't even understand right now, Zeb.
You got to help me, though. I mean, you have been preaching this. You've written books about this. You've written blogs about this. You've been kind of like John the Baptist crying in the wilderness, and nobody seems to listen. And those that do, really, just giving you lip service and saying, attaboy, Frosty, you keep up the fight. I mean, I applaud you for what you've tried to do. Every single thing in your books is coming to fruition. And we, the American taxpayers, I guess I'm just blown away. Just blown away that we could have a hotline number for Department of Homeland Security for illegal aliens to call and complain. They don't even give us a hotline number for taxpayers to call and complain, and they listen to us.
Well, the only recourse that we as American citizens possess is the vote. One single vote every time we vote, every 6 years for a senator and every 2 years for a House rep. And the tragedy is we re-elect incumbents at like 96%. So we actually get exactly what we re-voted for. And you're seeing this kind of insanity continue. From my own personal perspective and watching this for the last 30 years and certainly the last 15 with you and me together, it's incomprehensible that our own elected officials are working against the American people, they're working against the U.S. Constitution, and they're working against the future. And let me tell you, for those of you who have not seen my Part 12, Impregnating America with Muslims, Islam Stuck in the 6th Century, go to newswithviews.com today, and it will certainly give you a chill up your spine to realize exactly what we're doing to our country by impregnating millions of Muslims into America. This series should be the single series most talked about in the country right now, because it is one that is showing exactly, just like my other two books, what's happening to us as to multiculturalism and as to internal balkanization of the United States of America. And it's not going to have a pretty ending, that's for sure.
Frosty, I know that because you're a writer and because you study what's going on in the news, I'd like you to comment right there on that prayer breakfast last week. I was absolutely dumbstruck that the President of the United States could have a preordained speech that would condemn basically Christianity and give a free pass to Islam, and that's the gist of the speech that he gave last week.
That was exactly the gist of it. And remember, what were the Crusades all about?
Yeah, that's right.
Think about it, folks. You know, if anybody doesn't think that Barack Obama is a Muslim, you just have to, if a duck quacks, folks, it's got to be a duck. If anyone speaks like this president speaks on his joy of the Holy Quran and the holy songs of Islam coming over the airwaves there in the morning, that's where he grew up. I mean, I don't know how anybody doesn't understand this. Barack Obama is not an American. He was not raised here. We don't even know if he was born here. He certainly wasn't born of two American parents. He's got Kansas, a mother who literally didn't know what she was doing in this life, never discovered anything about being an American, and was really anti-American, essentially. And yet, we voted this man in twice. It just shows you the American people are not thinking, they're not understanding, they don't have a clue as to what the consequences are to this continued Muslim onslaught of America, and it starts with the White House. Right now we're about to import 75,000 Syrian Muslim refugees into this country, which will be just another nail in the coffin of the American ethos, the American culture, the American English language, and our way of life. As these people continue to grow, you're going to see more of what's happening in Paris, France, happening right here in Anytown, USA. Same thing that's happening in Stockholm, Sweden. Same thing that's happening in certainly in Norway. Belgium is literally being run. The Belgians are being run out of their country by the Muslims. Holland is really ready for a revolution, an internal civil war right now with its Muslim immigrants. That's what's happening, and is going to happen here in the United States.
You know,
as a matter of fact, I was skiing last Friday, and I got out in the parking lot, and I noticed this one lady. She's really quite beautiful, actually. She had a child with her, and we started talking about immigration. She says, "Yeah, I'm so glad to be out of Russia. I'm so glad to be here." And she was very articulate. And we started talking about the Muslims. And she said, "Well, they don't tolerate them over there because we can't. They will just destroy. They would destroy Russia." And she said, and here I'm quoting. She said, "The only way to stop Islam in this world is to kill every last one of them."
The people that follow that religion cannot adapt to the modern world. We are at risk as long as we import Islam into any Western country, unquote. That was just from a lady I met in the ski parking lot. She's come from Russia. She knows what's going on over there, and she's seen all this stuff. There's another quote, very short one here. When you think of every Muslim who has enjoyed the fruits of America and Australia and Canada and Europe and the freedom, notice all the horrific bombings and killings, whether it's in Australia or in Europe or in Canada, the beheadings and so forth. Who is it that's doing it? Muslims. And André Servier, who's a French historian, he said, and I'm quoting here, Islam was not a torch, as has been claimed, but an extinguisher conceived in a barbarous brain for the use of barbarous people. It was and it remains incapable of adapting itself to civilization. Wherever it has dominated, it has broken the impulse toward progress and checked the evolution of society, unquote. I mean, that's what we're facing right now, Zeb. It's just extraordinary.
Well, here's a question for you. And again, I know that you've done your homework and you've got an answer for this, but we're so quick to import, if you will, refugees that are Muslim refugees, and this Obama administration seems heck bent to help them any way they can. Why not? Why not are they extending the same refugee status to over 300,000 Christians in Syria? There hasn't been any one of them allocated out in numbers so that they can be a refugee status to come to the United States.
I've said this in my book. As more and more foreigners are impregnating America, whether it's Mexican illegal aliens coming into the country, and right on down the line, whether it's the Muslims, and the Muslims are even faster and much more clever than the Mexicans are, then those people, because the latest new the immigration aide in the White House is a Muslim. It's a Muslim. I got a picture of her. And she's the one that's pulling the strings and making sure more Muslims come into the country. Do not fool yourselves. These Muslims are here to literally take over America. They're here to pardon me. They're here to change this country into Islamic State. That's a fact. That's what we're facing.
You know, I'll let you catch your breath there for a minute, and I will also say that right off the bat, they're going to yell Islamophobia. Oh, my goodness, you're against them, just like Obama did in his speech the other day in front of the National Prayer Breakfast. And this man just absolutely, I think, on his teleprompter, destroyed more for Christianity in less than 2 minutes in that speech than anybody could have ever helped. He's absolutely standing up, aiding and abetting the Muslims, and he hurt a lot of people last week.
Well, he certainly did, and I want you to understand this. I have been reading the Quran. It's got over 102 verses that are absolutely negative, and they're against everyone else in the world. They're all pro-war verses on the non-believers. That's all of us. In fact, Dayan Sarawati said, and I'm quoting, "The Quran is the result of ignorance, the source of animalization of human beings, a fruitful cause for destroying peace, an incentive to war, a propagator of hostility among men, and a promoter of suffering society. As to the defect of repetition, the Quran is its store," unquote. How could anybody in the year of 2015 burn some pilot, just a pilot, a Jordanian pilot, just burn him in a cage? Tell me that's not the animalization of a human being, that the Muslims follow this kind of god-awful, barbarous, barbaric, animal behavior. It's incredible. And yet, this president is defending Islam, is promoting Islam, and we're importing all of these Islamists into this country. And again, as I've said, there is no such thing as a moderate Muslim, and there's no difference between a moderate Muslim and a radical Muslim. They all have the same core value of the Quran, and the Quran's core prime directive is to convert or kill all non-believers. That's simple.
I want to shift gears, and I want to go to our national security, if you want to call it that. And of all people in this administration that is leading the conversation and imposing her will on the president and also on our military, Susan Rice. Susan Rice! This woman was a fiasco after Benghazi. This woman has no experience. She never served in the military, doesn't even know anything about it, and she is formulating our national and international security with our military. You must cringe just like I am.
Yeah, this lady wouldn't know a squad from a company, from a platoon to a division or a brigade, for God's sakes. She wouldn't know. She wouldn't know the infantry from the signal corps. I mean, neither, in fact, does the President of the United States. If you asked him what a platoon or a squad or a company or division was, he couldn't tell you. He couldn't tell you the components. He couldn't tell you the number of troops in each one of these particular entities, because he has zero military experience. In fact, we all know that he has a backdated selective service draft card that he absolutely did not even register for the draft, which is against the law, and we could go right down that road as far as his false Social Security number, too. So that's what we have, and that's what we voted into office. 51% of the American people re-voted Barack Obama into office, and we now have 1 year and 11 months to tolerate and hopefully endure the carnage that he's going to throw in this country. But I'll tell you what, this immigration thing, this is what's going to literally take this country down, because once these people land, again, 100 million third world immigrants coming into America in the next 30 years, folks, and no one has even talked about changing the 1965 Immigration Reform Act, and we are going to get, this is not if, we are going to get 100 million Ethiopians, Somalians, Sudanese, Laotian, you name it, from all over the third world are going to impregnate this country with all of this multicultural and multiple worldviews and failed cultures. I am beside myself weekly on this thing, Zeb, because it's so deadly to our civilization.
You know, I want to again shift gears in the topics that I wanted to discuss this morning, but have you ever been to Australia?
Yeah, I took my cycle, and I cycled from Sydney, Australia, down to Melbourne. I also went over to Tasmania, and then I cycled up the Great Ocean Road over to Ceduna, Adelaide, and then across to Esperance, and then out to Perth, and up to Port Hedland, and then over to Darwin. I circled the entire perimeter.
All right. Well, then you're very well suited to answer this question, then, or give us a little bit of an overview on this. I have heard that off the coast of Australia, it is the most dangerous place in the world for surfing because of a multitude of great white sharks that I guess water temperature and everything is really befitting them over there. There was a man that was sitting on his surfboard less than 30 feet offshore, and they said all of a sudden onlookers saw these huge jaws come out of the water, and that was it for the surfer. I can't imagine how dangerous that is, 30 feet offshore.
Well, that's correct. And Adelaide and all the areas around Australia, the great whites apply the water, and any surfer that's out there is dangling his feet in the water, or her feet, and they're the next lunch break. That's all there is to it. Personally, I love windsurfing, but I would not windsurf out in the ocean waters, period, because you can lose your life or lose a limb very quickly. So that's the reality.
I really, how deep is that water off the coast? I mean, when you talk about 30 feet or less, and just sitting on a surfboard, it's hard for me to imagine. It must be quite a drop-off in depth because of the great whites and their size, 12, 13, 14, 16 feet long. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Again, Australia is a continent that broke off of, it's called Gondwana land, way back millions and millions of years ago, and it actually floated to where it is right now. and it has very steep drop-offs. The Australian Bight, which is midway across the great ocean, across the one road that goes across southern Australia, it has one touch down, and you can look over a 200-foot cliff, and the waters are just coming in off of the southern oceans of Antarctica, and it's just literally it's a deep water. There's no beaches there. It's just a complete drop. So there's the great whites ply all over there. They're always looking for food. They're looking for birds. They're looking for anything and everything that breathes. So that's the great danger that anyone, like I say, anybody that's out there is just as foolish as they can be to be surfing off of Australia.
All right, Frosty Woldridge, time is up, and I hate to see it end. We covered quite a few different topics this morning, and again, you proved you're more than equal to the task. God bless you, my dear friend, back in Golden, Colorado, and we'll look forward to next Monday. Thanks, Frosty.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thank you much. Very interesting man and a dear friend, Frosty Woldridge from Golden, Colorado. Thank you very much. Hey, Valentine's Day is coming up this next weekend. Yes, it is. I got some great ideas for you to get your lovey. Go to Whipple's Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. They've got everything in there. I mean, perfect gifts for you to get for your Valentine this next Saturday. And don't forget, they got all the books, just all kinds of books, and the jewelry, and the art supplies, and the greeting cards. And if you mention you heard this ad on my radio program, you'll receive 10% off your purchase. Hey, get in there today at Whipple's Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. They're waiting for you. And don't forget, too, it's the home of the National Pioneer Hall of Fame and American Heritage Museum. Whipple's Book Plaza in Burley. Also, our thanks go out to Perkins Restaurant at 800 North Overland in Burley. I gotta tell you, they've got some great Valentine's Day specials for you. Coast-to-coast classics in their restaurant, like San Francisco shrimp stir-fry, or the Philly steak melt, or the Monterey shrimp pasta, or the Big Baja Benedict, or the Rocky Mountain Scramble. All of these sound fantastic, and they are. And the bakery is absolutely phenomenal, like with the peanut butter cake pie. Woo! It's delicious. Everything is at Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley, wishing you a very happy Valentine's Day. Boy, that sounds good, doesn't it? In just a moment, we're going to have our dear friend Carrie Kupek on the line with us from the Alliance Defending Freedom. Stand by for that. But first and foremost, I want to remind you about Let's Ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Where the fun is sold. Hey, they've got rebates on dirt bikes right now. Great time to buy. And I want to remind you, they've told me that now is the time to get your four-wheelers in there to get them serviced. Don't wait much longer, because, boy, the closer we get to spring, which like it is now, the closer you are to waiting in line. So get in there now and get your four-wheelers serviced at Let's Ride. Fantastic service department, the best of qualified mechanics to help you. Let's Ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn, Rupert and Burley, however you want to say it, but definitely where the fun is sold. You stop in and see them today. And, of course, when you're over in that neck of the woods, don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, and they are the professionals with all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and, of course, employee benefits. They know, and they'll take the time to visit with you to make sure you're covered. Absolutely the best in recommendations for your particular circumstance. The best. Accessible and devoted to working for you and with you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. 436-4424. Let's go to the phone line right now, and this is a very, very nice lady that has absolutely done a phenomenal job with the Alliance Defending Freedom, Carrie Kupek. Good morning, Carrie. How are you?
Pretty good, Dad. How are you doing this morning?
Well, you did it again, young lady. You got my blood pressure way up. You picked out a couple of stories that just absolutely I read last week, and I thought, wow, how devastatingly low is our society going? And the first story I want to talk about is the Canadian Supreme Court opening a door for doctor-prescribed death. Please tell me what this means.
Sure. Well, in Canada, previously, they had completely prohibited doctor-prescribed death, kind of rallying around the idea that suffering patients need sound medical treatment and compassion and protection, not encouragement to take their own lives. There's a right to life, not a right to death. But what the Canadian Supreme Court just did is they struck down the total ban on doctor-prescribed death, but they did limit it to a very small amount of exceptions, carefully monitored exceptions, and who would fall into that would be the following. It would be someone who clearly consents to the termination of life, and number two, they have a grievous or a medical condition that can't be remedied, and that includes an illness, disease, or disability that causes enduring suffering, and that's intolerable to the individual in the circumstances of his or her condition. So they're limiting it to that, but it certainly has opened the door.
Carrie, I guess obviously the first question would be, what about the Hippocratic Oath? What about standing up for everything they can do for the right of the patient and trying to maintain life? Is this being discarded and thrown on the floor?
Right. It's interesting because the court in its opinion and its decision wrote that the sanctity of life is one of our most fundamental societal values. So it acknowledges that. It acknowledges this right to life, this life that, everyone has an inherent right to, and for that to be protected, certainly by the people who are taking care of them and providing, essential medical care. But it did add that doctors and physicians, they may not, this decision that they just handed down does not require or force doctors to participate in assisted dying or, prescribing death. They said that would undermine the physician's freedom of conscience and religion. So that's where it stands.
Carrie, I just kind of get chills thinking about this because have we opened the door or have we already invited in, whether it's Canada or whether it's here in the United States, kind of the creation of a hemlock society?
Yeah, it's something that you have to be really concerned about and really with your eyes wide open, especially with decisions like this. Because take a nation like Belgium, for instance. This doctor-prescribed death has really gotten out of control, and now they're including children and teenagers who have these, they don't even have to necessarily get permission from their parents, and now they're adding to that depression. So essentially, you can get a doctor to write your prescription to die because you're depressed. And that's not to undermine depression or how the ravaging effects it can have on one's mental health and how awful it is for the person in it. But it certainly is quite concerning, especially when you see so many people either recover or just come out of these things. And it really does. It really overall devalues life. It kind of says, well, because you are this or because you are X, that life really to the state isn't necessarily worth living, so you can just get out of it now. And so it is concerning, especially when you have a nation like Belgium, and the statistics are staggering over there right now. The amount of people that are participating in this doctor-prescribed death scheme, so to speak, is very upsetting.
I was reading that paragraph in this story about the most vulnerable, such as the disabled, and that's a category that could be anybody from a broken leg to somebody that comes back from the war in the Middle East ill. It could even involve somebody that's got the flu and they feel really, really down in the dumps. Elderly, I mean, my goodness, I'm considered part of the elderly crowd now, or the depressed, and any and all of us at one time or another have had depression in our lives. But my goodness, the quick resorting to suicide, it seems like they're almost opening the door and pushing people with the acceptance of this.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that, again, obviously we would have liked to have seen Canada completely uphold ban on doctor-prescribed death, as they've done in the past. They have upheld this prohibition before. And so the fact they struck it down in its entirety obviously is concerning. Well, we're glad that they limited it. They made it a very, very narrow exception. But yeah, even that little exception, that's a door, cracking open for exactly what you said. Because, down the road it begs the question, well, who's going to be on the so-called, say, death board, right? Who's going to say what's okay as far as, they can keep living and who can't? So yeah, it's definitely concerning. And again, I think that culturally, not just in Canada or in Western Europe or here, there just seems to be this shift away from the value of life. And life seems to be something that, according to law, is something you want to escape or get rid of, and it's upsetting.
Let me ask you this, Carrie. Basically, it's your own opinion, but I really am concerned with the attitude that has taken place in this country with a lack of respect for the elderly, a lack of respect for those that are sick or infirmed, and there might be very well in the future a death panel like we were just talking, saying, well, we're not going to provide the medicine for so-and-so because we need it for somebody much younger. What's the cutoff age going to be? 75, 70, 65, 60? I mean, we're looking at a very precarious and slippery slope right now of what might happen in the not-too-distant future.
Right, exactly. And, laws, especially dealing with medicine and these life and death situations, we want laws that uphold life, protect life, place a value in life, especially because the ones that are most vulnerable are the ones, like you said, the disabled, the ill, the elderly, the depressed. Those are the ones most vulnerable. Therefore, those are the ones that need the most protection. Yet these are the laws that really kind of come in sneakily and will affect those who stand to lose the most, who are already suffering if such a system is enacted.
Absolutely. The second story absolutely is very close to home because, quite frankly, it took place in Idaho, and it also took place at our current legislative session, and that involves the gays and lesbians and transgenders trying to obtain more special rights from our legislature. I'll let you explain it, and then we'll go into a kind of a question and answer type thing. Go ahead, please.
Sounds good. Yeah, so like I always say on your show, something that we love and cherish in this country is the freedom to live and work according to our beliefs and our conscience without threat of government punishment, and especially in the areas of freedom of religion and freedom of speech. I mean, those are specifically mentioned in the First Amendment because they are so vital to an overall system of freedom. Well, what happened was in Idaho, there was a bill before the committee there, and it was going to add sexual orientation and gender identity to basically essentially a protected class within the non-discrimination laws. And the problem was, one, there was no sufficient religious or conscience protections. And the other thing is, sometimes people see this and they say, oh, what's the big deal? We're just going to add those so you can't discriminate. Well, that's not really what's going on here. Because, number one, there is no issue with, denying basic services and goods to people who identify, as really anything. What these do, it's sort of this like benign covering for what's really going on, and that's forcing people and compelling people to accept, express, and promote messages and ideas and events that would violate their deepest convictions that deal expressly with those two categories. So, the committee and the Idaho House, they actually voted to reject it, which is great. They voted 13-4 on Thursday, and this is a good thing for freedom for all people.
The absolute heinous act of trying to push this thing through, what it would have done for public restroom facilities, locker rooms, school bathrooms, etc. Tell the audience exactly, this is a push for the abnormal to be accepted as normal. This is a push to basically, I think, trample on any morality left in this country. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I can give you a few examples, very tangible, specific examples of exactly how these kinds of laws play out. So when sexual orientation and gender identity are added to these so-called non-discrimination laws, what happens is this. You have the situation right there in your home state with, in Coeur d'Alene, with the two ordained Christian ministers who run that for-profit religious business called the Hitching Post, where they marry people. And because sexual orientation was part of the local non-discrimination laws in Coeur d'Alene, the NAPs, the husband and wife ministers, they were subject to criminal prosecution for not wanting to marry those who identify as homosexuals, not wanting to marry same-sex couples because of their religious beliefs, because of their convictions. So we had to file a lawsuit there, challenging the laws applied to them, saying this is unconstitutional. So that's the situation in Idaho. You have the Washington State elderly florist who's had employees who identify as homosexual, who's was very, very good friends with the person who's currently suing her. And she also did not. She designed floral arrangements, did all kinds of things for a longtime customer who was who identifies as homosexual, and but he's suing her according to the local discrimination laws because he won't design flowers for his same-sex wedding, because that violates her faith and conscience. And then you have another guy in Kentucky, the Kentucky printer, who also had employees who were homosexual, and he prints all kinds of things, serves all, people, no problem. He didn't want to create a gay pride T-shirt because of his faith and his convictions. Well, he's getting sued according to these local non-discrimination laws. So you can see the problem these things occur. This is not about regular, basic goods and services. This is really this subtle way, but very concerning way, to force and compel everybody to speak a message that completely violates their deeply held convictions.
What I see, and again, I'm open for criticism and correction on this, Carrie, I see this as a door opener for these people to get their extended rights, special rights, and I also see it as a way to condemn and close the door and the book called the Bible. And quite frankly, I see them, as many have said, they wanted to consider the Bible as hate speech, and I see the losing of religion in our country if they get these special rights. I don't think I'm wrong, am I?
Well, no, because here's another example would be, say you were a church and you were putting on a marriage retreat, and you decided to advertise that marriage retreat in their local Christian bookstore. And the bookstore put up flyers that said, marriage retreat at local church, and this is for, married men and women only. Well, that could arguably be construed as, like you said, discriminatory. Underneath these local ordinances, should these categories be added? And that person who put those flyers up, that business could arguably be held liable. So that's a big problem. And even if we remove the, the religious aspect out of this for a moment, what these local ordinances do when these categories are added are these things that you refer to, these so-called bathroom bills. And, that allows men identifying as women to use women's restrooms, locker rooms, etc. And really, just from a common sense perspective, why would anyone want that to happen? I mean, this is a privacy issue. This is a big concern. Even the Ninth Circuit, and it's the Ninth Circuit, said, we cannot conceive of a more basic subject of privacy than the naked body. The desire to shield one's unclothed figure from strangers of the opposite sex is impelled by elementary self-respect and personal dignity. So look at that. We're not even talking about the Bible, and yet it's just a fundamental common sense viewpoint that, hey, let's keep bathrooms gender-specific for the safety and protection of everyone.
Are we at a tipping point, as far as you're concerned with your work with the Alliance Defending Freedom and the lawyers that take on these cases and everything? Are we at a point where evil, and I'm going to call this evil, is absolutely so predominant that it looks like we're being pushed right over the cliff? I mean, no matter where you turn around, there's another case like this cropping up.
Well, it's interesting. There's a poll that came out last week that it polled Americans, and they said, look, even if you essentially agree or are fine with same-sex marriage, should businesses be compelled to promote it against their deeply held, beliefs and convictions, i.e., the florist, the Kentucky printer, the people that I just mentioned earlier. And this poll actually, the majority said, and it was narrow, but it was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was definitely the majority that said no. We don't think that any business owner should be forced by the government to promote a message with which their conscience and beliefs say no. So that is encouraging. And I think if people could just take a step back and see that this is not necessarily about, an LGBTQ issue. This is about the government coming in and strong-arming its citizens to promote and celebrate a message that its beliefs just say they can't do. I think people will understand the big picture better and be able to, fight against this and see this as an infringement on freedom for everybody involved.
And in the case of the Colorado florist, and correct me if I'm wrong, making and forcing employees to go and have basically mental classes of adjustment, in their opinion, this is absolutely like Nazi Germany, is it not?
Yeah, you have in both Colorado and Kentucky. What happens is these so-called human rights commissions say that they have violated. Well, actually, the Human Rights Commission in Colorado compared Jack the Baker to what Nazis did and compared him to slave owners. It's outrageous, just simply because he didn't want to bake a same-sex wedding cake, yet said he would do anything else for the same-sex couple that came in. And so, then they forced them to undergo this so-called re-education training, where they basically, the state is saying, hey, we're forcing our ideology on you. You better fall in lockstep, and you better teach your employees, and if you don't, we're going to come after you again.
Carrie, I just say God bless the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you so much for what you do and all the lawyers, etc. And so that people can follow these stories and keep up on what's happening, give us the information about Alliance Defending Freedom.
They can go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or if they want to take a look at the legal documents, or even in this case of the Idaho testimony, they can go to adsmedia.org, and they can actually pull up the legal memo that we prepared that lays out all these examples and lays out very clearly and concisely why adding these categories to discrimination laws are a big problem for everybody.
Oh, my goodness. Excellent program this morning. Great discussion. I'm always excited to see what she's going to throw at me next week. Good day to you, my dear friend Carrie Kupek, and God bless. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you very, very much. Nice lady right there. Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Normalcy, morality, families just being discarded. Just like unwanted refuse, with the left trying to come in and normalize the abnormal. That's it. Plain and simple. Got to do a weather forecast real quick, and the weather is brought to you by our friends at Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. They will see you today. I mean, you just get right on in there, whether you have an ear infection, sprain, strain, or fracture, injuries due to accidents. They treat everyday injuries and illnesses, and they're waiting to see you right now. You just get in there, or give them a call at 324-2004. Urgent Care of Jerome, 133 West Avenue A, Suite B in Jerome. And right now, here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb the Rich. Just when you thought you'd seen it all. You got thunderstorms in your forecast. Isn't this amazing? You got thunderstorms in the month of February. Yeah, you got rain and thunderstorms possible today. It'll taper off tonight. The good news about the weather for this week, all this yucky stuff is going to taper off tonight, and you're going to have a pretty nice week working your way toward the weekend with temperatures in the upper 50s, possibly 60, and the overnight lows will be right around the upper 30s. So, as I always say, and believe me, you got it pretty good right now. All you're getting is a thunderstorm, okay? 46 below in Fairbanks, Alaska. Upstate New York, the whole state of New York is getting heavy snow for today. And all you get is rain and a possible thunderstorm in February. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. And brought to you this hour by Urgent Care of Jerome. You better believe the number to call, 324-2004. They will see you today. Minor emergencies, major care. You call them Urgent Care of Jerome. Okay, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you real quick, Minnecash Lincoln Day Luncheon. We're going to be there. Hope you're there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get a chance to visit with our politicians. It's going to be on Saturday, February 28th at Maury's Steakhouse in Burley. And, of course, the meet and greet starts at 12 noon and lunch at 1. And it is going to be a lot of fun. Very interesting to find out what's going on, so we'll plan on seeing you there. Also, I am very, very honored to have with us on this program Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center at 2303 Park Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 677-3073. They recently, and you've heard me say this before, were awarded a 5-star rating from the government. That's the highest rating awarded to skilled nursing facilities. They're a nursing home, and they provide medical nursing service for seniors with serious illnesses or disabilities 24 hours a day. They never forget that you're their valued guest and the reason that they're here. Please, for more information today, call them at 677-3073. That number again, 677-3073, or stop into their office and visit with them at Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center, 2303 Park Avenue in Burley. Parkview Rehabilitation and Care Center, serving you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And, I've got a couple of, I got to get this in as kind of a personal note for me, but they're out there in the tack room, and I just want to sell them because I don't need them anymore. I've got 2 excellent roping saddles, in addition to my one that I use all the time. Well, these 2 I'm going to sell, and they are excellent. One's got brand new sheepskin on it and everything, just ready to go. 2 excellent roping saddles for sale, and please call me on my cell phone at 312-2976. That number again, 312-2976. Mount Harrison Audiology. Are you hearing everything around you? Are you going, what? Hey, Martha, what did he say? Well, listen, hearing loss is not a part of aging. No, it's not. Hearing loss is not normal. And you better have your hearing checked. And I know just the place to go and call. And that's Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Now, the number to call if you're going through some hearing problems or want to have your hearing checked, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology. We haven't talked to Gina at all today, and I just wonder if she's feeling a little bit better. Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. Feeling slightly better, but it is what it is.
Well, did you do you didn't do anything special this weekend, did you?
No, nope. We were going to make a quick trip up to northern Idaho, but then I got sick.
Oh, boy.
And so I just stayed home all weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just stayed home.
Oh, man, and then you get the blahs, and you sit there and you go, I don't want to do anything because I feel sick.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
We stayed home. It was fantastic weather outside this weekend.
It was really nice.
Yeah.
The only thing I did do is I did feel good enough to do a barbecue on Saturday. It was just Sean and Kennedy and I, but I barbecued.
Oh, what'd you barbecue?
Hamburgers and hot dogs.
Really? Mm-hmm. That sounds delicious. Yesterday, honest to goodness, I mentioned this earlier this morning, Gina. We were outside. She was doing some yard work. I mean, cleaning up the flower beds and everything in February. And I was cleaning out my horse trailer and everything, and we sat down on the bench in front of my barn for a few minutes, and we thought, here we were in our shirt sleeves, 65 degrees, and we both looked at each other and said, when this ends, we are really going to get hit with something nasty.
Honestly, I've been really enjoying this warm weather, but we really do need to get back to winter. We really do.
In Michael's forecast, unless I heard him wrong, it really doesn't say that he's anticipating anything that's going to be out of the norm for what we are right now.
Yeah, honestly, I've looked at the forecast for at least the next 5 days, and we're still going to be in the 50s.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
I'm waiting for winter.
Well, I don't mind if we don't get winter as long as we get a lot of rain. I couldn't care less. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand that, but we need the snowpack.
I know.
We really do.
You're right.
For the farmers.
You're right.
So that is my concern, is making sure that we're going to have water for the irrigation season. So we really need that snow.
How is the snow up on the mountain, by the way? You were up skiing, a week ago?
Yeah, it was, what was it? The 7th is... We went ski. No, actually, it was the weekend before that.
I see.
We need more snow. Period.
Need more snow.
We need more snow.
Okay, well, when Michael calls in tomorrow morning, you might mention to him that if he could give us kind of a look in the crystal ball and give us a long prognosis.
You got it. I shall.
All right. We're going to take a little break, and coming up next hour, I am really, really looking forward to having this doctor on our program because, quite frankly, on a personal level, I need to learn more about this. It's Dr. Pamela Morris, and she's with the American College of Cardiology, and February is American Heart Month, and we're going to be talking to her about taking care of your heart, and if you do have a heart attack, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, just kind of a quick kind of a cover of everything, and hopefully we can get her back on the air for a follow-up program. That's coming up at 10 o'clock, and then at 10:06 actually, and then at 10:32 we're going to have our legislative update with Senator Dean Cameron. Don't go away. I'll be back in 6. Good morning and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, locally owned and operated, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. And without further ado, we're going to have our guest on in just a moment, but I need to get rid of a couple of words of wisdom for you this morning, and one of them is, of course, if you're hungry, and everybody gets hungry, about mid-morning right now, you're saying to yourself, man, I got to find a great place to go have lunch at noon, the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, today they're going to have crispy, spicy chicken melt on white bread with choice of potato and super salad. Wow. And they've got some Valentine's Day specials coming up for this next weekend. I'm going to tell you all about those tomorrow. But today, crispy, spicy chicken melt on white bread. Always good. You bet. Great service at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. And real quick, we want to remind everybody on Thursdays we have a special segment on our program, Cassia County School Days, brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. All the games, all the clothes, everything for the babies. And, of course, they've got all the scrubs for you, too, the Cherokee and Dickey scrubs. They've got everything for the family right there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, over at the Ambulatory Surgery Center on 1344 Highland, Dr. Michael Coughlin, a foot surgeon, is now there and serving you with any complicated foot problems. He is the man, a foot surgeon that's now in this area at Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland. Number to call, 677-8888. Let's go to the phone lines right now and say good morning to Dr. Pamela Morris. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, Zeb. Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on. But I did want to point out to you, you have a preventive cardiologist on the line. Crispy chicken melt. You're in big trouble, Zeb.
We do as the advertisers say we do. So there you go. It is a real pleasure.
And that's okay, because I can certainly give your listeners some strategies for choosing a heart-healthy meal no matter where they're dining.
You know, Doctor, you don't know this, and I haven't shared this with a lot of people, but 2 years ago I had a very light, not very serious, didn't cause that much damage heart attack. And I just wanted you to know that up in front, because I am a person you can talk to and you can point your finger at as to the do's and don'ts. And I was very, very lucky. It was not as serious as could have been. But now, this month of February is American Heart Month. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is such an important month for getting out the message and getting out information about the risk factors, the symptoms, and sort of empowering people to take control of their own heart health.
Now, when you say that, take control of your heart health, let's start from ground zero. Do most people not realize that they may have a problem and that a heart attack is looming possibly around the corner?
Yeah, it's very common. You know, no matter how long we have had this heart awareness messaging, this has been going on for decades, that we try to raise awareness of cholesterol and blood pressure and cigarette smoking. I think in many ways people fatigue of the messaging and oftentimes say, well, that's not me, maybe it doesn't run in my family, I'm too young. And so a lot of people really miss the window of opportunity for taking care of their risk factors. You know, while heart disease affects people in their adult years, the plaque that causes a heart attack begins to form in your arteries in childhood and adolescence. So what we need to do is to get people to be screened for risk factors earlier, at least as adolescents or in their young adulthood, so they can begin to modify those risk factors, treat those risk factors, so they don't get into trouble in later adulthood.
Okay, no.
A lot of people feel like that they are too young to go to the doctor, too young and healthy. You know, I'm active, I don't have any symptoms, I don't need to be screened, when in reality, they may have underlying risk factors that aren't recognized. I always say, people ask me, how early should you go to the doctor to be screened for risk factors for heart disease? And I always tell them, you're never too young.
Okay. Now, Doctor, I'm going to be asking you some questions that may seem rather naive, but I'm asking them from a personal standpoint, too. Do a lot of tests on physicals and annual physical and everything, do they show potential problems or not?
Well, so first of all, the potential problems first in terms of risk factors. Those are easy, you know, screening for family history, do you smoke, checking a lipid panel for high cholesterol, checking for diabetes, checking your blood pressure. So those are all important things that can be picked up at a routine physical. Now, the other question you ask is a trickier one, and that is one in terms of diagnostic tests. So what tests can identify an early problem? Now, they're probably one of the best and most accurate tests that we have for identifying early risk is a test called calcium scoring. It is not necessarily available in all areas. It is a very simple 10-second CAT scan that identifies the early development of plaque before it becomes symptomatic. Plaque is made up of three things. Primarily, it's made up of cholesterol, inflammation, and calcium. And this simple CT scan or CAT scan identifies early plaque buildup on the basis of seeing calcium in your coronary arteries. Mm-hmm. So that is one way that you can identify problems before they're even symptomatic.
Now, when you look at the public in general today, and you look at our fast-paced society, they might not be eating healthy, they might not be watching their weight, they may be smokers, they may be under a lot of stress, etc. There is more than one category that will contribute to possibly having a heart attack, is there not?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, any one of those things can, in and of itself, make you at risk. So, you know, someone may say, oh, well, you know, I don't need to worry about smoking because my cholesterol's fine, my blood pressure is fine. Any one of those risk factors can put you at increased risk depending on the severity of that risk factor.
Okay, now, let's talk a little bit about the age brackets. And I would assume that women should be listening as much as men because women are just as susceptible to having a heart attack, are they not?
Well, that's so important that you bring that up. So more women than men die every single year of cardiovascular disease. Now, the numbers are about, women are just slightly more, but more women are dying. The difference is that heart disease tends to begin to affect men in their 40s, whereas it tends to affect women in their 50s and 60s. Now, why that's an issue is women generally have a longer life expectancy, and so more women are living to ultimately have heart attacks and strokes. But there is a difference of about 8 to 10 years in terms of the onset of heart attack and stroke in both between men and women. But again, it's never too early to identify your risk factors and manage them. So whether you're in your 20s or your 30s, both men and women should be screened and should be adopting appropriate treatments and lifestyle.
Let's talk a little bit about the lifestyle. Let's talk a little bit about food and our diet. I know as a doctor, you made kind of a jocular remark when you started the program off, but I think there was quite a bit of seriousness behind it. What about our diets? I mean, are you saying that we need to just eat bland food with absolutely no seasoning or spices, etc., or occasionally, I'll use that word occasionally, you can maybe splurge? What are you saying?
Well, what I would say is that bland should never be a part of your diet. And so, I mean, seasonings and spicy is those issues those are not an issue. Where the issue really comes in is with probably two types of foods. One is saturated fats. So that's the crispy, that's the deep fried, that's the French fries, that's the crispy fried steak, any deep fried or fried foods, that's saturated fat, or basically also any cholesterol is also present in any food of animal origin. But if you think saturated fat, if you think fried food, that's going to help you out a lot. The second type of food we need to really be worried about is what we call refined carbohydrates. That's those whites. That's the white bread, white pasta, white rice, white potatoes, cookies, pastries, candies, those sorts of things. Those foods are largely responsible for that belly fat that we get when we gain weight and it's all in our belly. And unfortunately, that kind of belly fat can increase your risk of both diabetes as well as heart attack and stroke. So what you're really saying is what we've talked about now are the things that you shouldn't eat. Let's talk about the things that you can eat, and they're tasty and delicious. So when you're choosing your proteins in particular, so your meats, let's choose lean cuts. Let's bake, broil, or lightly saute them in a healthy oil. Let's put plenty of seasonings on them, lots of herbs and spices to make them tasty and delicious, but choose lean. And then when we're talking carbohydrates, let's think whole grain. So let's think for our breads, let's be sure we choose one of those whole grain breads that really have that nutty, tasty flavor. Let's be sure that when we have a cereal that is whole grain, that we have plenty of fruits and vegetables, that we use brown rice instead of white rice, that we use whole wheat pasta. If you want to have a potato instead of a white potato, let's get a baked sweet potato, which has fewer of those refined carbohydrates. So I think sometimes we talk too much about what we shouldn't eat and not enough about all those tasty, wonderful things that we can eat.
I admit to you and the world that I would not sit down at a meal without grabbing that salt shaker and the pepper shaker. And that potato wasn't finished until it looked like it was completely saturated with pepper, and the steak wasn't ready unless I had it covered with salt. I have not touched either either the salt or the pepper shaker in the last 3 weeks. Basically, every time I reach out for them, my fingers start shaking because I know that's a no-no.
Well, and you're wise. Now, the pepper shaker is probably not the issue. It's that salt shaker. Now, salt in general can be something in moderation. I do, primarily people with high blood pressure really need to watch it, but we would all do well to limit the salt. What's very interesting, too, is once you start limiting salt, it's very interesting how other flavors begin to emerge from food, which you never recognized before.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
It's really amazing when your tongue and your taste buds get a break from it. It's amazing how great the food really can be.
Let me ask you this, and I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I was talking to some other people over the last couple of days that have gone through heart attacks, and they said, no, wait a minute, just because you had a heart attack, that's not a death knell for the future. Do you agree with that statement?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a preventive cardiologist, and so what I say, there's two kinds of prevention. There's primary prevention where you prevent the first event, and I love doing that so that people don't get into trouble. But I'm telling you, where you can really make a difference is in secondary prevention, and that is someone who has had an event, and it's really a teachable moment. So much like for yourself, Zeb, it's a heart attack or a stroke or whatever event you have is a really teachable moment where you are receptive and you really understand why the things we're talking about are so important. And I will tell you, prevention makes a difference. When you get in there, when you're taking your baby aspirin, when you're controlling your cholesterol with a statin, when you're changing your physical activity, you're modifying your diet, controlling your blood pressure, you will see your risk of a recurrent event go down dramatically.
I can say, and I'm going to take this call in just a minute, stand by, caller. I can say that the controlling of blood pressure is absolutely essential. I know that 90% of probably my problem was stress and worry, and there were days leading up to the event that I had that my blood pressure was up like 180 over 110, and now since that I'm so cognizant of it, it has dropped down to this morning, as a matter of fact, my blood pressure was 135 over 65.
Oh, congratulations. That's probably lower than mine was before I started this radio show.
Let's take a caller with a question for you, Doctor. Go ahead quickly if you would.
Yeah, I was thinking about caffeine in different sources, coming from different sources, and premature body dehydration. Can she touch on that?
That's an excellent point, and thank you for your call. Doctor, what about the caffeine drinks like coffee or any carbonated beverages, etc.? Go ahead, please.
Well, again, thank you for that question. So, I would say that, caffeine certainly is a stimulant, and it also is a diuretic. So you cannot rely on caffeine-containing liquids for your hydration because they have quite the opposite effect. They have a diuretic effect. They certainly can be a stimulant in terms of increasing blood pressure and increasing heart rate. When you look at the evidence on caffeine, however, the evidence would suggest that caffeine in moderation is not specifically dangerous. And so, again, I think it's as with all things, it's moderation. We certainly have seen complications, cardiovascular complications of those energy drinks and people who abuse those energy drinks. I would say that in moderation, and to define that, it's 1 or 2 servings a day. What I don't like to see is people who combine caffeine with stress. And what I mean by that is the person with that high stress job who is drinking caffeine constantly throughout the day to keep them going in their job. That is the person that needs to look not only at their caffeine intake, but also needs to sit back and take a look at their stress and their lifestyle.
Yeah, well, wait a minute, though, Doctor. There is the problem, okay? And I'm running out of time, and I've got to ask you and basically beg you to come back in this month of February and discuss this some more. I certainly hope you'll consent to that.
I would love to.
But stress is not a very easily managed little 5-letter word. That can absolutely be a word right there that is hard to manage.
I completely agree with you. And, it comes to mind, I just had a 44-year-old gentleman who's a lawyer who I've been taking care of him for 10 years, trying to tell him to cut back, take care of himself, exercise. Well, he just had a heart attack last week. And all of a sudden now, he is re-looking at his priorities.
Yes.
And deciding, what we want to do is earn more, make more money, push ourselves to the limit. And I think in this society, sometimes we need to step back, take a look, and don't wait until we have a heart attack before we evaluate what's really important in our lives.
Do you have, though, like a kind of a step process? I mean, if you're in a stressful situation, what you should do, maybe breathe in, breathe out like the Karate Kid or whatever. I know that myself, right leading up to the event that I had, my stress level was like, if 1 to 10 scale, it was like a 32. And I would absolutely get ready to bounce off the walls. What would you tell people that are in stressful situations?
Well, I think, first of all, that we all have situations where we are under extreme stress. I do think, as you probably will looking back on it now, I bet you have more control of your stress going forward than you did before, because you're going to have to. But I would say that one really effective way is making sure you have time for exercise.
Right.
You have to make it a priority. In fact, I always put my exercise in my calendar before I schedule any other appointments. And I don't make an excuse. If someone says, can you meet with me at that time? I look at my calendar. I say, oh, I'm sorry. I've got another commitment at that time. Because my exercise and taking care of yourself is the most important thing. If you're dead, you are of absolutely no benefit to anyone that depends upon you.
Talking about exercise, and quickly give me a short answer on this because I've only got 2 minutes left.
I know I talked long.
No, absolutely. It's all been great. After a heart attack, a person, they usually say about 2 weeks, and if it's to the point where the doctor says you can start exercising, people are a little tentative about an exercise program because I think, like in my case, you're a little bit afraid as to doing too much and having the problem complicate itself. Would you address that, please?
I would. Well, first and foremost, what I would encourage anyone who has had a cardiac event should definitely enter a cardiac rehabilitation program. Supervised exercise, good diet education. It's absolutely critical to a safe recovery from the event and also to get you on your way. Now, I might mention you're safer with exercise after you have a stent or get yourself managed than you were before you had the event. You just didn't know it. And so with a guided exercise program, it can be done safely. And, Zeb, I would tell you that you have the chance to have never been healthier than you will be going forward. So I have a lot of optimism moving forward. You need to take control.
I will be calling you, and I shouldn't be saying this on the air, but I will be calling you at the aforementioned number and trying to reestablish another time with you on the air. You're you're so knowledgeable and so forthright. Thank you so much, Dr. Pamela Morris. God bless you.
To all your listeners, be heart healthy.
All right. I will be in touch shortly. Thank you. God bless. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Great information right there with a wonderful doctor with the American College of Cardiology, Dr. Pamela Morris. And the minute this program's over, I'm going to call her back and I'm going to reschedule another appointment with her, maybe for Wednesday of this week, and have her back on the air to discuss. I've got about 30 more questions I was going to ask her, and we'll look forward to having her back on the program. Happy Valentine's Day. Yes, you're not going to believe this. I did not plan this like this, but it's the way it worked out. Don't forget Happy Valentine's Day from the bookstore at 515 5th Street over in Rupert with, I'm sorry, I can't help it, caramel-filled chocolate hearts. Oh boy, do they sound good. What an appropriate time to have this come up. Anyway, it's fudge to die for. Yes, fudge dip cinnamon bears, along with jewelry, Valentine's Day cards, and all kinds of items at the bookstore. I'm sorry, 515 5th Street in Rupert. Wonderful, wonderful people running a wonderful, wonderful store. I've been in there many, many times, and they've got something for everyone for Valentine's Day. So you stop in at 515 5th Street in Rupert, the bookstore. And then also, don't forget Dreams Day Spa and Salon at 123 East 23rd Drive in Burley. It is a full-service salon and spa. And you know, husbands, this would be a great opportunity for you to go over there or stop in or give them a call at 878-4640 and buy your spouse a full-service salon and spa gift certificates for the lady of your choice. Oh, my goodness, she will feel like she is in heaven at Dreams Day Spa and Salon, 123 East 23rd Drive in Burley. Wishing you and yours a very happy Valentine's Day. Well, right now, we're going to take a little break and send it back over to our main studios, and we'll be back with Senator Dean Cameron in just a few moments.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. We're running really late, and I want to get this gentleman on the air as soon as possible. He's not only a dear friend, but does a wonderful job as a senator for the state of Idaho.
Who hasn't called in yet?
He hasn't called in. Would you please try him on that cell phone number I gave you?
That's what I'm doing.
That a girl. Thank you. That'll give me an opportunity. Gina, can you dial, and then can I play Michael Rogers' weather? I'll get that on just momentarily. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don't forget, the very, very best of all your custom meat processing, whether it's beef, pork, lamb, wild game processing, everything guaranteed they sell, period. It is absolutely delicious. And I'll guarantee you one thing, they sell taste one bite at a time. Here now is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. Just when you thought you'd seen it all. You got thunderstorms in your forecast. Isn't this amazing? You got thunderstorms in the month of February. Yeah, you got rain and thunderstorms possible today. It'll taper off tonight. The good news about the weather for this week, all this yucky stuff is going to taper off tonight, and you're going to have a pretty nice week working your way toward the weekend with temperatures in the upper 50s, possibly 60. And the overnight lows will be right around the upper 30s. So, as I always say, and believe me, you got it pretty good right now. All you're getting is a thunderstorm, okay? 46 below in Fairbanks, Alaska. Upstate New York, the whole state of New York is getting heavy snow for today. And all you get is rain and a possible thunderstorm in February. I'll take that in a heartbeat. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. There's no weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it very much. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Absolutely fantastic. Beef, pork, lamb, wild game processing. Many, many times I've enjoyed their delicious cuts of meat. You will, too. They guarantee everything they sell at Scarrows Meats, 324-7657. Let's check with Gina. Is Dean on the line?
Yes, he is.
Thank you so much, Gina. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, from the legislative session going on in Boise right now, Senator Dean Cameron. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Zeb?
Really good. I'm not going to waste a lot of time asking questions. I just really want to know what is going on with you, the legislative update, and what are the hot issues that right now you're involved in. Please, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Zeb. First of all, thank you for affording time on your show to keep the citizens informed as what's going on in Boise, and I really appreciate the opportunity. My main focus is always focused around the budget. That's my main responsibility I, together with Representative Bell, are the co-chairs of the Budget Committee, of JFAC, as it's called, Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee. And we are still in the middle of our hearing, where we are listening to state agencies and their requests and their issues. But we're winding down rather rapidly. We will finish the 23rd of February with the hearings, and that last week the hearings are allowing other committees, such as the Ag Committee or the Health and Welfare Committee or the Education Committee, to come in front of the Joint Committee and make their recommendations or what they're seeing as policy. And then we will start. We have a public hearing on the 23rd where the public, or actually it's on the 20th, I take that back, where the public can come and testify on the issues that they might be concerned about or issues that they think we should address. The governor has a very ambitious budget, and there are a number of issues that aren't funded in there. And yet there's only about a $2 million bottom line. Mm-hmm. We know we have fire suppression costs because we always pay those behind. You know, they incur the costs and then we pay for it in the next year. We have fire suppression costs that are about $25 million. We have a number of other issues that we know have to be funded, particularly for next year. That we've got to figure out how to address, and so we're in a spot where we're looking as a very critical eye, as we should anyhow, towards any increases in spending, and we're looking for places where we can save money so that we can take care of our bills and manage the state's finances appropriately.
All right, now, Dean, I'm going to jump in here and ask you a question about the verbiage that you used just a moment ago. You said the governor, Butch Otter, has an ambitious budget. Those were your words. I have read many, many stories about many items, and quite frankly, there are some markedly increases in different areas, like education, etc. First and foremost, I guess, as a person that likes to make sure that he maintains a semblance of a balanced line in his budget, how are you going to get the money if you don't have the money?
Well, that's the question. And so the governor's projecting a revenue increase of 5.5%, and that is what his chief economist is projecting. We have not adopted that number yet, although we do have a committee that has reviewed it, and they find that the governor's number is reasonable. And so there's a chance we may end up adopting that number. But nonetheless, as you properly identified, there are a number of agencies where he is recommending a significant higher number than 5.5. He is public schools, he's recommending 7.4. Mm-hmm. Others have dramatic increases. Now, frankly, I'm one that believes, public schools is the largest single appropriation from the state, from the state general fund. Medicaid would be larger if you count the federal funds that come in. But and I'm one that has argued that we need to fund public schools as best we can, but I'm also one that will argue that we cannot overspend. We can't spend more than our resources, because the last thing we want to do is put ourselves into a situation where there's holdbacks or there's there's other problems down the road or reductions. So
what do they look for?
We'll be conscious at it and do the best job we can.
What do they look for when you say that the economists are projecting more figures coming in, more money, more revenue, etc.? What kinds of different revenue will be increased according to these projections? I mean, we've got to keep a balanced budget according to our Constitution, and that kind of hangs you guys out to dry if all of a sudden these proposed increases in that crystal ball falls on the floor and breaks.
Right, and it is difficult. I'm not trying to be critical here in nature, just by the way we're doing it. Remember
that income taxes are collected based on last year's income, both corporate and individual. Sales tax is a little more reflective of the current economy. So you're looking forward, trying to determine what's going to happen in the future, but you also have one eye on the rearview mirror because you're looking at what the income was last year. And so it is not, their economists would like you to think it's a science, but it's not a science, and they've been wrong more than they're right. It's a difficult proposition. We watch month to month, and then we try and make the judgment. Now, this last month's income came in about $1 million more than what they had projected, which is good. But then when you dig into the details, you find that $1 million more came from corporate income tax. That actually, individual income tax was down by nearly $3 million, and sales tax was down by $1.5 million, or not quite $1.5 million. And sales tax numbers have been lagging. And remember, this is January's numbers, which would be an indicator of December sales, or the sales that occurred during Black Friday and et cetera after Thanksgiving, because vendors, retailers is the word I was looking for. Retailers don't have to report their taxes until 30 days after they've been submitted. So we're optimistic that the economy is improving, but we're very cautious about it. They look at things like housing starts, and they look at other measurements besides actual taxes. They look at job growth. They look at number of jobs, the unemployment numbers, etc. And those numbers are all pretty positive, and so that gives them optimism as well. And they do look, in general, to the national economy. But you and I both know our national economy is being hamstrung in large part because of the policies out of Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. I would imagine, and I'm just making a supposition on this, but to be named to the JFAC committee and to be in your position, after about 3 or 4 days, I'd want to go jump out a basement window. How do you keep your sanity?
Well, you have good family and good friends, and you just know that you work hard, and frankly, you're blessed. At least I am. I'm blessed beyond my own natural ability. I just try and do the best I can, and there's a lot of good people that serve with you. So,
when you look at the overall situation of the economic value of our state, when you look around at other neighboring states, be it Washington, Oregon, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, it doesn't make any difference. How are they doing in comparison to us?
Well, Wyoming, in particular, has done much better in the past than us because they are they have a stronger natural resource basis. Oil and gas production has been great. Now, with oil and gas prices being where they are now suffering a little bit of an adjustment, and I'm expecting that will cause some consternation for them. Washington and Oregon are back on the growth path. Utah, by almost everybody's measure, has really let out, and they have done a number of things besides keeping their budget pretty well under control. They've done a number of things to invest in their infrastructure and a number of things that are now creating jobs and creating opportunities in that state. We've mimicked some of that with our investment tax credit and some of the other tax policy changes, and we're certainly right behind them in our opinion. And we've won a number of business locations because we've had the workforce and the ability in the past. But So we're holding our own, I guess is the best way to put it.
I think one of the big questions, and I've had an opportunity over the weekend to visit with other members of the legislature, both congressmen and senators, in regards to how we're going to fund the infrastructure improvements. And I'm sure that's a question that comes up in your committee also, does it not?
Yeah, it does to a degree. The transportation costs, we've got some significant policy changes being proposed both on education and on transportation. We're more involved in the education piece than probably the transportation piece, but it does come up here and there, and we will certainly have an opportunity to set the Department of Transportation's budget and base it based on the policy that's in place at that time. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes discussions going on transportation. We set their budget on March 6th, actually. I just looked. I have not heard of anything that has rose to the level of, that people are willing to sign on with yet. There's a lot of ideas being thrown out. We know that we have some issues. We know the department has been really frugal in the past, but there's still room for improvement, and we are pushing for that additional improvement. I think there's a lot of discussion about whether to raise gas tax, or whether to raise registration fees. And of course, when you compare us to other states, we are so much lower in registration fees than anybody else. It's sort of astronomical, that the difference there. Mm-hmm. And the registration fee does get at the hybrid vehicles a little better, whereas gas tax really only affects the vehicles that drive most and use the most gasoline.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether any of those will meet muster. If you held a gun to my head and said make a prediction, I kind of doubt it will. But I've also heard others and say they're very confident. So I could be just reading the legislature wrong. I think the legislature agrees there's a problem. We just don't agree how to fix it. And so I'm not sure that there's a solution yet.
Let me ask you this final thought here, Dean, before I have to run. But I think it's fair to say that just by throwing money at any subject doesn't necessarily act as the panacea and the cure-all. I would imagine your committee really has to concern themselves also with looking at the management of the various requests for funding and see maybe if they couldn't streamline it, because money thrown at this problem doesn't always make the problem less.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, you took the mantra right out of our mouth. We often we're a little harsh at times, I think, probably on state agencies, but that's our job, and we know that, and I think they recognize it. And just to give them additional money is not often the best answer. In fact, if there's a silver lining to when the economy is tough and budgets have to be reduced, is that we force them to reevaluate what they're doing and see if there's ways that they can do at least less expensively. And for the most part, most agencies have. And so we're trying really hard to make sure that government doesn't grow. The government stays at the same level it is now. And yet we know that there are also services that the public expects. They expect that if they're in an accident on the freeway, that there will be a state police officer there in a reasonable amount of time. They expect that when their kids go to school, that they're going to be taught and educated and have the best opportunities possible. And so it's our job to make sure that we have good teachers and that they are well trained and that we can keep them. We don't want to be losing teachers to Wyoming and to Nevada, and frankly we don't. And I don't know how it is in Murtaugh, but I know in Cassia County at one point we were operating with 4 teacher positions open, and their kids were being taught by substitutes, which are fine. It's for a small period of time, but that's, it's not, you don't want your kid having the whole year having a substitute. And Minidoka County was even worse. I think they were at 8 positions open at one point. So, you know, there are services that so it's a balance. There are services we know that citizens expect from their government, and our job is to make sure that there's enough money to provide those services, but at the same time, our job is to make sure that just giving them more money isn't always the answer, and so they have to evaluate how we're doing things.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to hear from you, my dear friend. Senator Dean Cameron up at the 2015 legislative session. God bless you, and I'll look forward to having you on in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Dean, and the very best to you.
Thanks so much, Zeb. I look forward to it as well. I think I owe you a steak dinner at Steve-O's or something, so we're going to have to figure that out one of these days.
I will take it at any time. Thank you, and God bless you, man. Thanks. All right.
Thanks so much.
You betcha. Senator Dean Cameron from the legislative session, and they are crunching the numbers on the JFAC committee and trying to establish and maintain a budget. So we wish them well. Want to say our thank yous while we have just a moment here to our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You haven't gone in there lately? Well, you'd better get in right now because they're celebrating what they call the Founders Celebration, and that's, of course, in honor of Mr. Les Schwab, the founder of all the Les Schwab Tire Centers. What a man. Had a chance to meet him years ago up in Prineville, Oregon, and just one of those people you just enjoyed being around. Very, very interesting man, and I'm honored to have met him. Les Schwab Tire Centers all over the area, 7 locations here in Magic Valley with great tire buys like the all-season tread tires, economically priced. They've got some as low as starting at just $39.99. And others like the all-season traction affordable pricing tire, $57.77. All of this and much more. Like you can have $50 off custom wheels when you buy a new set of 4. Boy, I'd like to get a set for my pick-em-up truck. And the very best in brake service. They really know brakes. Stop in today and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and old Randy, my buddy, on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Tomorrow, what have we got cooking? Oh, we have got some phenomenal guests coming on tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it, including we're going to have Representative Clark Kaufman from over to Filer, and we're going to be talking about that transportation and how they're going to try to get funding for the roads and the highways and the bridges and everything, so don't miss that. Dr. History will be on the air tomorrow, too, so don't miss a minute of it right here on Zeb at the Ranch. At 8:06, we'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on KBAR 1230, and then streaming live all over the world on ZebBell.com. The way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.